Hello, Peter.
It looks like the perfect villain for Spider-Man Brand New Day might already exist in Spider-Man's past casting lineup, and Marvel might be bringing Mr. Negative into the MCU, and not just for a small role either. From what it seems, they could be setting him up for something much bigger than anyone expected, possibly even his own solo project. So, let's break down everything we know so far. The fourth film in Tom Holland's Spider-Man journey, officially titled Spider-Man Brand New Day, is shaping up to be more than just another sequel. It's the start of a new era for Peter Parker, especially after No Way Home, where he ended up being completely forgotten by the world. That shift gives the filmmakers a clean slate and the opportunity to introduce a fresh new villain, one that comes straight out of the comics and also starred in a fan-favorite video game. There's one name that keeps popping up in all the speculation: Mr. Negative. Known in the comics as Martin Lee, he's a complex character with a dual identity. He's both a respected community leader and a shadowy crime boss. His introduction in the Brand New Day comic storyline feels like a natural fit for the upcoming film, especially since the movie shares its title with that arc. Mr. Negative isn't just visually striking. His black and white aesthetic and energy-based powers would look incredible on the big screen, but he's also emotionally grounded. In the comics, he's connected to the Feast Center, a community shelter run by Aunt May. That makes him more than just another supervillain. He represents themes of duality, control, and internal conflict, exactly what Peter is going through now that the world doesn't even remember who he is. What makes this idea even more compelling is that the perfect actor to play Mr. Negative already exists, and he's playing the role before. Stephen O. Yeun brought Martin Lee to life in the Spider-Man video game and returned in its sequel. His performance was widely praised for bringing depth, emotion, and a real sense of menace to the character. So if Marvel is looking for someone who truly understands Mr. Negative, they don't need to look far. Video game adaptations are no longer niche projects. Actors like Idris Elba and Giancarlo Esposito are now lending their talents to AAA titles. So it wouldn't be far-fetched for someone like Oh Young to step into the MCU. His portrayal gave Mr. Negative real complexity, turning what could have been a standard villain into someone unforgettable. And the best part? Oh Young has already said he'd love the opportunity to play Mr. Negative in live action. In an interview, he talked about how humbling it's been to receive recognition from fans. He mentioned that while he'd absolutely say yes to playing the role, he understands how Hollywood often leans toward casting big, recognizable names. That's just the reality of the business. Still, there's a strong argument to be made for giving fan-favorite actors like Oh Young a shot. Just look at how Charlie Cox transitioned from the Daredevil Netflix series to the MCU, or how J.K. Simmons returned as J. Jonah Jameson. These transitions work when the performances are right, and Oh Young's Mr. Negative clearly resonates with fans. He even shared ideas about how he'd like to adapt the role for live action. For example, he mentioned leaning more into the gritty, street-level crime boss angle, maybe even incorporating gang war dynamics into the story. It's easy to imagine how that could give Brand New Day a unique, grounded energy, especially since the current Peter Parker is back to basics with no Stark tech or outside help. In another interview, Oh Young was asked if he'd want to appear in something like Avengers Secret Wars down the line. He said he'd absolutely love to, even though he knows the odds aren't super high. But if it ever happened, he said he'd be interested in seeing Mr. Negative go up against someone like Kingpin, a battle between two powerful New York crime bosses. That kind of confrontation could be fascinating and would definitely bring some high-stakes drama. Of course, Marvel and Sony haven't confirmed who the villain will be in Brand New Day, and they haven't said anything about Mr. Negative being part of it. But that doesn't mean the idea is off the table. As Oh Young himself pointed out, casting choices are made at higher levels, and sometimes familiar faces from other mediums get the chance to cross over. If they do bring in Mr. Negative, it would fit nicely into the themes and tone of Brand New Day. The comics position Martin Lee as a key antagonist during that storyline, And while the MCU version will probably chart its own course, there's no reason Mr. Negative couldn't be part of that journey. And from a storytelling standpoint, he'd offer something new. The villains Peter faced in his first 3 films, Vulture, Mysterio, and various multiversal threats, each had their own themes. Mr. Negative, though, would push Peter to grapple with more personal, community-based struggles. He wouldn't just be fighting a bad guy. He'd be confronting the way darkness can hide behind a kind face and how someone can use good deeds to mask a corrupt heart. Plus, if Stephen O. Yeun gets the role, audiences will already have a connection to the character. Players of the video game will remember how haunting his performance was, and newer viewers could easily get caught up in his layered motivations. As for the rest of Brand New Day, it's shaping up to be a fresh start for Tom Holland's Peter Parker. After No Way Home, Peter's left with no connections, no support system, and no one who even remembers he exists. That means he's fully on his own. It's also why Marvel might be keeping his homemade suit from the end of No Way Home. There's really no reason to change the costume. It represents Peter's return to his roots and the beginning of his true independent journey as Spider-Man. Without access to advanced tech or wealthy allies, Peter now relies on his own abilities, just like in the classic comics. The homemade suit also highlights how different Spider-Man is compared to other MCU heroes. While most of them get their suits from high-tech companies, government agencies, or mystical sources, Peter just uses what he has. He sews his own costume, hides it under his street clothes, and does things the old-fashioned way. That makes him stand out and keeps the character grounded. The last time a Spider-Man costume carried over into a sequel without major changes was back in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man films. From Spider-Man to Spider-Man 2, the differences in the suit were barely noticeable, just a few small tweaks here and there. That kind of consistency helped build a strong visual identity for the character. So it makes sense for Holland's version to follow a similar path. Changing the costume again in Brand New Day wouldn't really serve the story. The current suit is a symbol of Peter's growth. It's simple, practical, and represents how far he's come. There's no need to add more gadgets or bells and whistles. At the end of the day, Spider-Man has always been about more than just big action scenes. He's about responsibility, perseverance, and staying true to your values, even when the world forgets your name. Bringing in a villain like Mr. Negative, especially one with ties to Peter's community and emotional world, could give Brand New Day a rich, character-driven foundation. So whether or not Marvel and Sony take that leap and cast Stephen O. Yeun, the groundwork is already there. The fan support is strong, the story connections are solid, and the timing couldn't be better. Mr. Negative may just be the villain Spider-Man Brand New Day needs, and if things line up, the MCU could be getting one of its most layered villains yet. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.